The movie begins with Cherry Darling, a go-go dancer, captivating the audience with a provocative and mesmerizing routine at a dimly lit, seedy strip club. The camera captures her every move, highlighting her confidence and allure as she dances on stage, bathed in the flickering neon lights that cast a gritty, atmospheric glow over the scene. However, as the music comes to a close, tears begin to stream down her face as she sits on the stage. Cherry's boss, Skip, scolds her for crying on stage. Cherry responds by announcing she's quitting, needing a dramatic change in her life. Skeptical, Skip watches as she takes her night's earnings and leaves the club early. On her way home, Cherry stumbles to the roadside when several military trucks nearly run her over. As she gets up, she winces in pain from a splinter in her thigh. Meanwhile, the military convoy reaches an army base several miles away from town. Abby, a biochemical engineer, steps out of a truck and angrily confronts Romy for allowing 3 specimens to escape. As punishment, Abby's men restrain Romy and castrate him. Afterward, Abby shoots Romy dead. Lieutenant Muldoon emerges from a truck and demands the chemicals he was promised. Abby insists all the materials are at the base, but Muldoon declares the deal off and demands everything. Muldoon's troops open fire on Abby's men. As the troops restrain Abby, Muldoon, his face beginning to blister, demands the chemicals again. Abby reveals that the chemicals are all around them and shoots a canister, releasing green gas into the air. While Muldoon and his men walk into the green mist, Abby seizes the opportunity to escape in a truck. However, a man jumps on top of the vehicle, trying to capture him. Not far from the base, Tammy stops at a barbecue restaurant called the Bone Shack to cool down her overheating car. The owner, JT, provides Tammy with a gallon of water and offers her some barbecue, which she declines. Later that night, Dr. William Block and his wife, Dr. Dakota Block, wake up at 8 p.m. to prepare for their hospital shift. When Dakota looks out the window, she sees green mist rising in the air. As she prepares breakfast for William, she tells someone on the phone that her friend will be picking up her son, Tony, in 2 hours. Using another phone, she warns her lover that her husband likely knows about their affair. Meanwhile, in the Bone Shack's bathroom, Cherry washes her feet and removes the splinter from her thigh. Ray, the local mechanic, arrives and asks JT for coffee and cigarettes. JT gives him the coffee for free to celebrate the restaurant's 25th anniversary, lamenting that Ray is only the second customer that night. JT points out his only other customer, Cherry, sitting alone at a table. Ray greets her and calls her Palomita, but she insists she no longer uses that name. Ray notices Cherry wearing his jacket, which she took when she left. When he asks about her plans, Cherry reveals she wants to become a comedian, claiming people find her hysterical and that she has shows booked in town. As Ray prepares to leave, Cherry asks for a ride. At the hospital, William is approached by a patient named Joe, who shows him a bite on his arm. Joe claims he was bitten half an hour ago, but his skin shows advanced stages of rot, suggesting a longer infection. William advises amputation to prevent the spread. Dakota arrives to administer anesthesia. She first injects Joe with a yellow syringe to numb the pain. Then, with a blue syringe, she assures him he won't feel much since the first drug has taken effect. Finally, with a red syringe, she remarks that he'll never see her again. Soon after, Joe drools and loses consciousness. About 2 miles from the military base, Tammy's car breaks down and she tries to hitch a ride. As she flags down a vehicle, she's attacked by a group of infected and torn apart. Ray and Cherry drive past and assume the attackers are just people dragging away roadkill. Suddenly, one of the infected steps out in front of them, forcing Ray to swerve, which causes the truck to flip onto its roof. As Cherry scolds Ray, she is suddenly dragged from the truck and taken into the woods. Ray grabs his rifle and fires at the attackers, but is unable to take them down. When he finally reaches Cherry, he is horrified to find her leg severed. At the hospital, Ray informs William that 3 crazed individuals attacked Cherry and took her leg. Sheriff Haig arrives, arrests Ray for possessing a firearm illegally, and takes him to the station. Meanwhile, more infected individuals start arriving at the hospital. When a paramedic brings in a corpse, William tells someone to contact his wife. Upon waking, Cherry is devastated to discover her right leg is missing. At the station, Haig receives a call from his brother, JT, who complains about 2 troublemakers outside his restaurant. Before ending the call, Haig asks JT for his barbecue recipe, threatening to raise the rent if he refuses. JT insists he won't give up the recipe under any circumstances. The so-called troublemakers arrive, and JT, unaware they are infected, invites them in. Dakota is shocked to see Tammy's body and retreats to mourn. William takes Tammy's phone and follows Dakota, questioning her about Tammy's presence. When Dakota denies knowing, William demands her phone. She refuses, so he injects her hand with a yellow syringe, numbing it, and finds messages between her and Tammy. As he tries to inject her with a red syringe, a paramedic interrupts, and William locks Dakota in the room. The paramedic shows that the bodies have vanished, leaving a trail of blood. At the station, Deputy Tolo seeks help with a suspect who bit off his finger. The suspect escapes, and Deputy Carlos gets bitten by a sicko. More infected gather outside, prompting Haig and Tolo to open fire. Additional officers arrive to assist. Ray kills an infected man and tells Haig he's heading to the hospital for Cherry, with officers joining him. As the hospital is overwhelmed, William decides to leave. On his way to find Dakota, he encounters an infected Joe mutilating a doctor. Joe tries to cut William's glasses with a surgical saw, but it shuts down. Instead, Joe infects William by bursting a boil on his face and smearing the blood on him. Meanwhile, Texas Ranger Earl McGraw feeds his ailing wife when Haig calls for assistance. Turning back, he discovers his wife has become infected and attacks him. At the hospital, Dakota escapes by jumping out of a window. She reaches her car and uses her limp hand to open the door, then uses her feet to unlock it, but she slips and breaks her left wrist. As Dakota drives off, Ray and the officers arrive and witness the chaos at the hospital. Haig refuses to give Ray a gun, so Ray pulls out 2 knives from the glove box and heads to the hospital. He skillfully slashes and cuts through the infected, avoiding contact to prevent infection. When he finds Cherry, she's cowering under a sheet, hesitant to leave because she's missing a leg. Ray breaks a table leg and fastens it to Cherry's stump. On their way out, Ray protects Cherry from the infected until they reach his truck. At home, Dakota is scolded by the babysitter twins for being late. She kicks them out and takes Tony to the car. As they prepare to leave, the twins smash her windows with shovels, forcing her to speed off. Meanwhile, the police and some civilians arrive at the Bone Shack. Haig deputizes some civilians, but still refuses to give Ray a gun. Inside, they find Haig's brother, JT, lying on the floor. Haig thinks he's dead, but JT wakes up and explains he passed out after killing the infected. Dakota stops at a house and instructs Tony to take a gun from the glove box, telling him to shoot anyone who approaches except her. As she walks toward the house, Tony accidentally shoots himself in the head. Distraught, Dakota returns to the car where William, now infected, grabs her. She pulls away, grabs Tony, and heads to the front door, where her father Earl reluctantly lets them inside. At the shack, Ray reminds Cherry she's wearing his jacket, and she finds an engagement ring inscribed with 2 against the world. Cherry confesses she left because she felt he no longer believed in their relationship, but Ray proves her wrong by making love to her. As the infected approach the burning shack, Tolo accidentally shoots Haig, prompting Ray and Tolo to carry him behind the counter. Earl and other civilians arrive seeking refuge. Haig apologizes to Ray, finally gives him a gun, and tells him to do what he does best. Tolo is initially reluctant, but impressed by Ray's skills. 3 infected break in, killing Tolo. Ray shoots them and tells everyone to run outside, but the infected swarm their vehicles. He instructs everyone to go back inside and asks Skip to get the truck, but Skip refuses. Cherry takes the keys and heads outside, with Ray shooting the infected blocking her path. An infected clings to the truck door, but Ray shoots him. Cherry rams the truck into the restaurant to get the others inside. She then gets on a motorcycle, while Skip and the babysitter twins ride with JT in a convertible. Ray wants to drive alone in Dakota's car, but the tires are blown, so he uses Tony's pocket bike instead. The convoy shoots and runs over the infected, blocking their path, but soon encounters a horde on the bridge. Shortly after, Muldoon and his men appear, shooting the infected and forcibly taking Ray and the other survivors to an old army base. Inside, Abby recognizes Ray and explains that Muldoon is stealing a chemical called DC2, which caused the outbreak. Muldoon needs the chemical to manage his symptoms. Abby notes that a small percentage of people are immune to the gas, and they hold the key to finding a cure. Abby asks Ray to help him return to his lab to complete the antidote. 2 of Muldoon's men soon arrive and take Dakota and Cherry away. Ray attempts to chase after them, but is beaten up by another soldier. When JT starts babbling about his barbecue recipe, Ray realizes he's trying to distract the guard. Ray warns him against it, but JT attacks the guard anyway. They manage to take down one guard, but another shoots JT. Ray kills the second guard and teams up with Abby to find Muldoon. Upon locating Muldoon, he removes his gas mask and reveals his motivations. He and his men accidentally killed Bin Laden in Afghanistan. Instead of a reward, the government gassed them with DC2. Muldoon believed releasing the gas into the general population was the best way to find a cure. As he starts mutating, Ray and Abby shoot him dead. Meanwhile, the soldiers force Cherry to dance on her wooden leg. Cherry compiles, but then uses her wooden leg to knock out one of the men, stomping on his eye. The furious soldier, attempting to force himself on her, has his reproductive organ melt due to the gas. The other soldier tries to attack, but Dakota, regaining control of her hands, shoots them with her syringes. Ray and Abby arrive to rescue them. Abby shoots the remaining soldier, and Ray replaces Cherry's wooden leg with a custom-made rifle and grenade launcher. Cherry uses the grenade launcher to blast open the door to the command center and kills the startled soldiers inside. Ray arms the other survivors, instructing them to head to the helicopters for escape. JT and Haig decide to stay behind, so Ray gives JT a remote detonator, asking for a 3-minute delay before detonation. Cherry rides with Ray on a motorcycle, shooting soldiers chasing them. When the group finds the helicopter heavily guarded, Abby sneaks ahead but is shot. As JT waits, he shares his barbecue recipe with Haig before detonating the explosives when his brother dies. Cherry propels herself into the air by firing a grenade into the ground, spinning and shooting soldiers as she lands. A firefight ensues as the survivors head to the helicopter. A soldier fires a grenade at Cherry, but she dodges it. Another soldier emerges to shoot her, but Ray intervenes. However, the soldier manages to hit Ray several times before dying. As the group boards the helicopter, Dakota runs to the other chopper to find Cherry. William, now infected, tries to attack Dakota, but Earl guns him down. Skip flies the chopper, mowing down more soldiers with the rotor blades. Ray, succumbing to his wounds, tells Cherry to leave him and find a safe place in the ocean. Cherry refuses to leave, but ultimately says goodbye as Ray dies. Dakota throws Cherry a rope, and she climbs aboard. The group ends up in Mexico, where the cities are devastated by the outbreak. Cherry leads them to Caribbean Beach at Tulum, where they start a peaceful new society during a worldwide zombie outbreak. Then, an infected person attacks a child. Cherry shoots him with the chain machine gun attached to her leg. The movie concludes as she carries her and Ray's baby on her back, wishing Ray could see her and their child. She recalls the inscription on her engagement ring, 2 against the world. And with that, the movie ends. I hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for amazing videos. See you in the next one.